All right, welcome to Bet the Edge. I'm Jay Croucher here with Drew Dinsick, the whale capper. A lot happened on the weekend. We'll talk about all of it. We're going to talk about the AFC divisional round matchups as well, and Cowboys Bucs tonight. And then we'll talk MLK Day slate of NBA. Now, Drew, to sign off on our Friday show, we gave out 3 bets to close. We gave out Jags plus 2.5, Ravens plus 9, Bucs plus 2.5. I kind of feel best about the Bucs bet, and it's the only bet that hasn't. But overall, I think it was a pretty solid weekend. What did you make of it all?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, as playoff football always is. When the stakes are that meaningful, like the games just they take on another level of excitement. And getting some winners, particularly the Jags, was as that's all you can ask for. I want to give you all of the credit in the world for coming up with this, but I think you're right. You lose the turnover battle 5-0 and you still win outright. Like you are the right side, right? Like this is not kind of being a bad winner. I don't think, it was the tweaks they made. The offense for the Jags in the second half was just phenomenal. Yeah, I mean, that I don't want to take away too much and say that that's the kind of performance that, you then go on a run because, they have their work cut out for them as 8-point dogs against the Chiefs this week. But, man, they are playing with house money and confidence on offense right now, and you love to see it. So hopefully that continues. But the big winner of the weekend was clearly Daniel Jones and the New York Giants. Some sharp money came in on that Giants +3, pushed it into 2.5 in the close. Moving off of 3 is hard. So that was some serious momentum, some serious professional money there. And it really never was in doubt. Giants came out with sort of their typical, run, giving Daniel Jones running lanes and letting him just kind of be the athletic star that he is in the first half of the game. But then I liked that they had like a little bit of a change up in the second half. You were seeing some looks from that offense that we didn't see a lot during the regular season. And I was kind of tongue in cheek poo-pooing a lot of people saying, oh, the Giants are playing their best football, when a lot of that was predicated on one win against the Colts. But, they're playing their best football. Like that was a really good offensive performance. It shouldn't even have been that close. I mean, the Vikings kind of played a perfect game and they still lose by 7. So I thought the Giants were the clear winners of the weekend. And yeah, it's overall like the way the field is shaping up for the division round.
Yep. I think you can make the case that on current form, Daniel Jones is maybe the second best quarterback in the entire NFC playoff field after Brady, still giving Brady the respect there. But just on what Jones has shown, the first 3 weeks of the season or so were rough for Jones. But after then, you look at his PFF grade and just his regular stats as well, and his ability to avoid turnovers and getting 17 carries yesterday. He's playing at another level. Even before we move on to Jags Chiefs, should just say, I don't want to celebrate all of our winning bets without talking about the losers.
Sure.
I gave out DK Metcalf under 65.5 receiving yards. And the good thing with that is that if you take out the 50-yard touchdown, you only would have covered by 21 yards. So I feel like I was kind of hard done by on that one. I'm expecting rain in that game and never appeared in Santa Clara. One of the games that had just all of these games just sailed over, except for Cincy Baltimore, which even that beat the closer on the over, but did go under 42.5, which it was early in the week if you got that. All right, let's talk about Jags Chiefs. The line right now, as you look on PointsBet, is Chiefs -8.5, is ticking up to 9 some places. The total is a massive 51.5. So the Jags are a weird team to think about at the moment. Trevor Lawrence obviously threw 4 interceptions, and I felt like he could have had more. He threw this has been completely lost in the wash, but he kind of threw the game-losing interception on the last drive. Just went through Kyle Van Noy's hands at the line of scrimmage. At the same time, though, I thought the defense for the Jags, I thought that secondary is just going to be totally unviable. And really, the defense performed great against the Chargers. It's just the Chargers put up. They put up the points they did because of the 4 interceptions, really. So I think coming out of that game, I still don't know what to make of Lawrence, who has been so inconsistent these past 2 games, effectively 2 playoff games against the Titans and then the Chargers. but certainly looked better in the second half. But he's going up against a buzzsaw now, at least with the Kansas City offense. And I would lean Chiefs 8.5, and I think it probably is going to get bigger. But what do you think?
You think it's going up? I don't know. I think this settles at 8 would be my kind of gut read. Yeah. And, some of it is just, that it's tough to price in what the rest advantage is going to mean. That was obviously took a lot out of the Jags in the comeback there. That was a very, that was a tough ask. And now they got to turn around and play on, on normal rest, but the Chiefs get a week to, get right. Chiefs are not really dealing with anything injury-wise that concerns you. Jags, I didn't think came out of that game with any question marks or concerns injury-wise, so that's good. And I was excited about taking the points against the Chiefs all playoffs, all leading up. I was like, "Ooh, boy, what kind of number are we going to get if it's Chargers or Jags against the Chiefs? That's going to be a fun bet." And now I look at 8, and I'm like, you know what, 8's right. I don't know that I'm going to have a strong position on this game one way or the other as we, kind of digest the matchup angles. But at first glance, high total, a lot of points. Jags playing with confidence, playing with house money. I want to believe that they could do this, that they can carry on their run. The way to defend the Chiefs, I guess, is you make them cross the street 100 times. Like you don't, you force Mahomes to get it done with skill position players who can't necessarily beat your coverage. And I agree with you that the Jags defense did pretty fantastic job of keeping the Chargers bottled up. But was that because they all of a sudden are playing better defense, or was that because Joe Lombardi's scheme is predictable and not necessarily game breaking? So if the Jags can kind of limit the damage in the screen game here, I think they have a fighting chance, but they're going to need to get to 30 points to win.
Yeah, definitely. I think with the Jags, I think the defense is a combination of Joe Lombardi's scheme and then Joe Lombardi's scheme without Mike Williams, just added up to an offense that is not close to elite despite having Justin Herbert. I think that the combination of the Jags, their secondary being very weak, and then having basically no pass rush, is going to be a problem against Patrick Mahomes. I suspect he will dice them up, but I do think the Jags offense should be viable in this game. So yeah, I don't feel strongly about it. I suspect that I think it probably will close 8.5 or 9, but 9, 8, I'm not talking about big differences here. So I would lean Chiefs, but don't feel strongly about it. I feel more strongly about the next game. Bengals, Bills. The line here is Bills -4. And remember that when these two teams did play a couple of weeks ago in Cincinnati, the line was Bills -2.5. It ended up closing. Obviously, going through 3 is a massive difference, and home field is flipped as well. So the total here is 50. It's 50.5 at some places. And to me, the biggest, I guess, just way to think about this game is whether Cincinnati's injuries on their offensive line just starts to render this offense just not viable against Buffalo. Because Joe Burrow had no time to do anything last night against the Baltimore defense, which I think is probably comparable to the Bills defense in its current iteration. And I'm starting to think that particularly if you can get under 50.5, whether the under might be a play in this game, just thinking that Burrow is going to have 2.1 seconds to throw with his offensive line. But what's your early read on this one?
Yeah, you nailed it. The key here, and why I think this is a little bit higher than people may have expected, because a lot of us, we talked about it last week. We thought 3.5 was probably where this was going to open, and then that was reasonably fair. And you saw 4.5 last night, and now it's still 4. And the reason is entirely what the Bengals came out of that game with in terms of injury problems, and it's all offensive line. 4 sacks for Burrow last night. Going up against the Bills team that does have a meaningful pass rush, they were able to get after it this week. They have consistently all season been able to find ways to develop pressure. So Joe Burrow is going to be under duress. So the question kind of comes down to Bengals win or lose more along the lines of, does their defense match up well against the Buffalo Bills offense? Can Lou Anarumo find some more magic in his hat and keep, the Bills under 24-ish points? That's probably what you need to do to get a win here. And I would lean towards yes, to the answers to that question. You got some rangy safeties that can, do a decent job of spying. You got good linebacker play with Wilson. So it to me at least looks like a decent matchup for the Bengals defense against the Bills offense. And, we are spelling now very much trouble getting to 50 points if we are talking about a Bengals offensive line that is in shambles and a Bills offense that may be meeting their match. So under or pass at the current numbers, I think. And, in game, I would look for Bills to come through here, but I would like to get a 3 or under a 3, at some point in a game, in a game state if they are at a deficit or something along those lines.
Yeah, and I think it's unfortunate that Jonah Williams goes down after Karras goes down, La'el Collins out. Like, had this Bengals offensive line been fully healthy, then I think the Bills would have been in serious trouble, because the Bills' safety situation right now is no good at all. The fact that obviously they lose Micah Hyde, obviously they lost Damar Hamlin, now they're down to Marlowe, and Jordan Poyer's not 100% either. So, and also the Bills' defense overall right now. Yes, there's a lot of fluky stuff that went Miami's way. At the same time, when it was 34-24, Skylar Thompson marched down the field to make it 34-31, which was surprising. And look, I think the Bills ultimately, they just are the better team. They're the healthier team, but you wouldn't feel comfortable betting on the Bills -4 because these Josh Allen turnover issues just are not going away. He throws 2 picks against the Dolphins. He fumbles twice, including a fumble 6. But overall, I think people are going to look at that game and be like, just look at the score 34-31, that's not a great performance from Buffalo. And it wasn't. At the same time, though, like, that was a 2-touchdown win. Like, that game should not have been close.
Yeah.
The Dolphins needed a fumble 6, 2 interceptions, one of which was very fluky coming off Cole Beasley's chest, a huge punt return towards the end of the half, and they still lost. So I came out of that game thinking that Buffalo is very imperfect, but also thinking that they should have won and they probably should have covered the closer in that game. But yeah, do you come out of right now? Do you think the Bills are the best team in the league, or would you be leaning Kansas City in Atlanta if we get there?
Well, you have to feel very, very concerned about the degree to which Josh Allen is still turning the ball over. He scares you. He is making, they handicapped themselves yesterday. You said it. Their propensity for turnovers, in particular, the ones that gave Miami points and or short fields was, it's been their DNA all season. Does that change on a dime? Probably not. You're going against a Bengals team that is good at, they're ball hawking. Bengals won last night because their defense took the ball away from Tyler Huntley on the goal line. Like, this is, this unit's going to be, they're going to be looking for those opportunities every chance they get. And you have good safeties that can, pick off Allen, even if it's not tip drill stuff. So, yes, the offense looks like they have a pretty obvious Achilles heel in terms of just giving you more chances. And the defense looks very, very beatable right now. I mean, it's funny that we're kind of talking about an under in a game where you have a very untrustworthy unit out there with the Buffalo Bills, but we're expecting this pass rush could be monumentally important, and so it's going to be a little bit of a fragile situation, because if Burrow's getting the ball out of his hands quickly, if Jamar Chase is is kind of in space against this safety group, all of a sudden Cincinnati looks pretty good. So there's going to be people who take stands on either side of this one, Bills, Bengals, all week, and kind of make their case. This is, feel strongly about this team. I bet them for these reasons. And I can already tell you what they're going to say. And I think there are holes in every case.
Yep. I do think this game is going to look a bit like the Super Bowl looked, where Burrow, just the amount of talent, and Burrow means that the Bengals are going to score. At the same time, every play is going to be a fire alarm, because he's going to have to 1 second. And and it's going to feel like Aaron Donald's coming after him every play, except it's going to be the Bills guys. Just quickly, and we'll talk about this more throughout the week, but Giants Eagles has opened 7. So I feel like the right line to you.
I think the Giants are going to probably take some money. I don't love the situation going on with some of the kind of ancillary players injury-wise for the Eagles. I don't love the situation going on with Jalen Hurts injury-wise for the Eagles. So my guess is that if there's any move off of the 7, it's going to be in favor of the Giants. And I think you're already seeing this total tick up a bit. That makes sense to me, just considering, Brian Dable right now is throwing gas.
Yep. No, I agree there. Definitely that will change depending on the Eagles, their injury report, and Sweat and Johnson and Gardner Johnson. And we just don't know what Jalen Hurts is going to look like either. But we will talk about that in more depth tomorrow. All right. Before we get into Cowboys Bucs, just a reminder, if you don't have the NBC Sports Predictor app, go download it now. The contests are free and easy to play, and you have a shot to win thousands this weekend by predicting what will happen in college basketball, the Premier League, and the divisional round this weekend, including a shot at $100,000 by guessing the outcome between the Jags and Chiefs on NBC. All right, Cowboys, Bucs. The line right now on PointsBet is Bucs Bucs plus 2.5. It is inching towards 3 though. This is a strange one. The Bucs got some good injury news where Ryan Jensen has just been activated off IR. It looks like the Bucs are probably going to be the healthiest they've been almost all season, outside of obviously missing Shaquille Barrett. The Cowboys are getting some guys back as well. Now, on Friday, we both like the Bucs plus 2.5. Do you still feel the same way, Drew?
Yeah, I have a kind of a cold chill up my spine with all of the good news that the Bucs have gotten today. The fact that the market is stuck is not a great feeling. I bet moneyline plus 125 last week. It moved to 120, and I thought, man, when the injury news comes in our favor, this could get even shorter. It is not. It's back to plus 125. Plus 130 as you're looking at it now at PointsBet. So yeah, someone out there very feeling very strongly about the Dallas Cowboys. You mentioned the Ryan Jensen news, which is interesting because obviously he matters a ton to what they want to do from a run scheme standpoint. Interior offensive line is sort of the important part of the offensive line when it comes to Tom Brady and kind of preventing pressure up the middle. I would look even more towards the secondary players who are going to be available here. It looks like they're going to have all 3 corners healthy. Davis, Dean, and Sean Murphy-Bunting all going to go. Looks like all of the safeties are healthy as well, so that's huge. Winfield matters. Mike Edwards is good. Like, these guys are good. They need to be out there 100%. Logan Ryan's going to be available here, so you're not even going to see Keanu Neal, which is going to be a relief. Like, I was kind of nervous about Keanu Neal being out there. He has not played well in his opportunities. So, yeah, you have a fully healthy secondary for the Buccaneers here. I think that gives them a little bit more confidence to run Todd Bowles' defense the way he wants to run it, which is be aggressive, let your front 7 go after the quarterback, and then your secondary players can you're relying on them to do their jobs, and with the health that they have, I think that's a viable defense against the Cowboys offense that is a lot to prove, particularly in a high pressure moment like this. So the flip side is where I still am excited, where you get Mike Evans going up against the secondary that just doesn't have a ton of cover, and the idea of, a player like Leighton Vander Esch is back. Great. Like, the Bucs weren't going to run anyway. Like, he's more of a run stopper, maybe a disruptor in terms of, defending the tight end off the ball. But, I still am not sure who's covering Mike Evans down the field. I don't think they really have an answer. If they can give Tom Brady time, Godwin and Evans should absolutely eat in this game. So, sticking with my guns here, even though the market is just wildly unimpressed with the positive injury news for our Bucs.
Yes, I still lean Bucs plus 2.5, and I think that when the Bucs are on offense, I feel like I have a much better handle on what that will look like, and that I think they will be able to move the ball against the Cowboys' pass defense that past 5 weeks has been 29th in dropback EPA. They just haven't been right at all. That's more about the secondary. I know people are looking at like, oh, Micah Parsons doesn't have any sacks. Micah Parsons is fine. He's still the same guy. He's getting the same amount of pressures. He's just not finishing plays, and that's much more fluky. So I think they'll have a pass rush, but I do think that Brady with Godwin, Evans, etc., they will be able to move the ball through the air. What I don't have any feel on is just what Dak Prescott is going to look like, because if he's the guy, who played against the Eagles and did whatever he wanted in that game and was completing 3rd and 30s to T.Y. Hilton, then the Cowboys probably win because I think they have more talent. If he's the guy from the past 2 games, particularly the game against Washington where he went 14 for 37 and looked worse than Sam Howell, then the Cowboys are going to lose. And so I don't know if there's something wrong physically with Dak. I don't know what the hell happened in that game overall against the Commanders, but just the uncertainty around that, the fact that Dak now is in the mode of throwing an interception every single game makes me lean Bucs because I'm just more confident in what I'm getting out of Brady. But certainly the Cowboys, they still have immense upside. I think the defense will look better than it's looked the past 5 weeks just because obviously it's a playoff game. There's no question about motivation. Like there might have been a little bit against the Commanders. Van Der Esch, to your point, it's not the be-all and end-all, but he's still better than what they were throwing out there. So I think the Cowboys defense is probably going to play at the level of like, I don't know, the 8th best defense in the league. Like it's not going to be a middle of the pack defense that it has been lately. It's also probably not going to be the top 2 or 3 defense that we saw earlier in the season. So add all that up and I lean Bucs, but yeah, it's a little concerning that the market has not moved one bit. Looks like we have a quick question around hedging. So this is from Greg Orlando.
Nice job, Greg.
On my 6-leg wild card weekend parlay. Took Bucs for tonight, 1,000 on the line. How do I hedge this, Mr. Dinsick? Or are you letting it ride?
Well, I mean, realistically, at -3, -2.5, money line -145. If you want a true hedge, you just have to play the Cowboys money line. I'm assuming you took Bucs money line, and that's sort of where this is at. But if you have Bucs plus the points, then you can shoot for a small middle by taking the Cowboys money line. But one of the things that I like to do in the playoffs, and some of this is just this isn't obvious plus EV stuff, right? But let's say that the question was, hey, I have Bucs at 50-1. Or something to win the Super Bowl. How do I hedge, right? Well, you're up against the Cowboys team. You know what the rest of the playoff field looks like right now. And if you want to hedge, you take position on the Cowboys. Like, realistically, like you can kind of guess what market we're going to see between Dallas and San Francisco. That potentially a Giants upset of Philly. And if Dallas can go into San Francisco and get a win, then they're hosting the NFC Championship game. So, I think if you have a Bucs future or a Bucs position that you want to hedge, I'm probably looking Cowboys in the futures market because if they win this game, then all of a sudden, some of the questions about this team are answered. And they have the ceiling, at least to what we've seen in the Cowboys this season. They have the ceiling of a team that's good enough to win what is otherwise a very weak NFC. So, that's kind of my general read. If you, the other kind of obvious answer is, wait for the Bucs to score first. And then bet the Cowboys at a plus money live line, or come in at the Cowboys halftime if the Bucs go into the half with the lead. Now, that can obviously go sideways, but you're gambling anyway. So, I think I tend to kind of lean more in that direction of if I'm trying to defend a position that has meaningful equity rather than take the true hedge. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, as a general rule, my position on hedging is only ever hedge if it's life-changing money, or that you're getting positive EV or I guess neutral EV to lessen some of the variance. And if you're just hedging for the sake of hedging to lock in a W, then you're just forfeiting value at that point. But I mean, also at the same time, like, everyone just, do what you want. Like gambling, for most people, gambling is about fun and enjoyment and making the games more interesting. And if you're going to do that and it's going to make you happier to lock in profit, then you can do that even if the math and everything points the other way. So I could not, if it is at the spread, I just couldn't stomach taking Cowboys -2.5, -115. I just could not do that because we think.
So you're telling me hedging is for gardeners? I get it. Okay.
Hedging is for the constant.
Okay, I see.
Before we move off of this game, my favorite player prop, Ezekiel Elliott, under 7.5 receiving yards. He's had 1 catch in the past 3 weeks. He's only gone over this number 4 times. The Bucs this year have been pretty solid at defending running backs in the pass game as well. And I think if they're going to be doing that, it's likely going to be Tony Pollard, who is getting the bulk of the receiving yards as he has all season. And then just lastly, I think the big winner out of yesterday was Philadelphia, because now their path to the Super Bowl, it's not so much that they have to play the Giants, although that helps. That's an easier matchup than playing the Bucs or the Cowboys. It's also now that San Francisco have to go through one of Tampa or Dallas as opposed to going through Minnesota. So I don't think there's a huge edge on this. I think if you can get Eagles plus 175, plus 180 for the NFC, I think that is a bet. It's not a bet that you feel ecstatic about given what Jalen Hurts looked like last week, but I do think if you just map what their money lines are going to be, then I think that has to be a bet. I mean, at this point, Eagles-Niners, NFC title game, is that going to be pick at this point?
The market support for San Francisco is undeniable. Yeah. I mean, a ton of it comes down to what Hurts looks like in this game, in this divisional game, honestly, because if you read some of the quotes that were circulated last week, because they're on bye, so you don't get a ton of media exposure. It certainly didn't get the same sort of attention as the games themselves, teams playing games themselves got. But Hurts basically was on record of, it's a good thing we got the bye because I was not ready to play this week. Yeah. So you're going to be ready next week? Okay. Yep. 7 more days. Now I'm good to go. Like, it's, he's dealing with a meaningful shoulder injury to his throwing shoulder. So, he's looking for his first playoff win, wearing a little bit of the pressure that comes along with playing in the city of Philadelphia. This is a tough ask all of a sudden for the kid. So, if he comes out and looks sharp and is playing at MVP level, then Philly's future prices are wrong. But I think a lot of people are hesitant to take them right now just because of the potential that this was that they peaked too early. A lot of people might have peaked too early this season. Bills might have peaked too early. Bengals might have peaked too early. Philly definitely might have peaked too early. Dallas peaked too early. It's you're running into a buzzsaw in the bullies of the NFC and the Tampa Bay Bucs, who we haven't seen their peak yet potentially. So that's still where I think is the right bet in the futures was. You got Tom Brady with like 35 playoff wins in his career, and Brock Purdy has won. Daniel Jones now has one. Jalen Hurts still looking for one. Dak Prescott has one. Like, the disparity in terms of playoff experience is so great. Bucs could turn into a truck here, I think.
Yep. All this chat just makes me think that Patrick Mahomes is winning the Super Bowl.
That's also possible.
Before we get to NBA, a reminder to download the Roto World app to receive breaking player news all season long. Stay ahead of the competition by favoriting players on your roster. Get the latest injury updates, player news, and much more delivered right to your phone. It's available in the App Store today. All right, big day of basketball to help us get through the obviously lighter slate of football. We've got games going from 1 p.m. Eastern with Celtics at Hornets. Not necessarily a blockbuster there, but still Boston Celtics. And then going all the way through to Rockets Lakers tonight as the West Coast game. What have you got circled on the slate?
3 popped for me. And I'm not winning a ton of money at all in the NBA this year. In fact, it has been a grind. I'm still red on the season. So looking to catch some kind of heater at some point, and maybe it's this week. But the 3 that popped for me, favorite look is the LA Lakers at 5.5. The tank is on for the Houston Rockets. I'm not sure if you've seen a couple of their fourth quarter performances in the last week, but what in the world is going on with this team? They pull the rug aggressively in these late game situations. They are very much not trying to win basketball games. And I just, in general, Lakers couldn't get a win last night, but they played pretty hard, and they hung in there. They got the cover against Philly. I think they get the win and the cover tonight against the Houston Rockets. I like the Washington Wizards catching a couple points against Golden State. Is Golden State good? Not sure. They certainly have had moments where they look a little beat up there. This is a tough spot for them on the road on a back-to-back. So don't mind taking a gamble with Washington. Beal coming back this is decent offensive cohesion there for Washington generally as of late. So I think the Wizards can give them some noise, and I think Toronto a little bit underpriced in New York. Toronto, I make about even par with New York in this game. I would have expected to pick them, and they're catching 2.5. So I took the points with the Raptors. I took the points with the Wizards, and I laid it with the Lakers.
Yep. Raptors Knicks is an interesting one. Knicks coming off a back-to-back. They played against Detroit yesterday in a game that, they were kind of always relatively comfortable, but they also had to play their guys until the end. Tom Thibodeau is doing some remarkable things with minutes at the moment and rotations. It's unbelievable. Yeah. He's just decided Jalen Brunson's going to play 40 minutes every night now. He was at like 32, 33 a game. Now you're 40 minutes a night every single night, Jalen, despite us being at full health and RJ Barrett back. That's a fun game because I think I agree with you just when you look at the rest advantage, that the Raptors are the side there, and the Raptors have turned things around a little bit. On the other hand, I think the Knicks are legitimately good. And I'm not sure the Knicks are any worse than, say, the Heat. I think those are pretty close teams at the moment, just with the level that Brunson has gone to lately. And I've had a few people reach out to me about Jalen Brunson, most improved player. And I agree that, if you can get 30-1 or prices that were available a couple of days ago, that's a bet. At the same time, I would kind of caution that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Lauri Markkanen are putting together two of the best, most improved player cases that we've seen in a long time. The Thunder are 21-23 at the moment, which is insane. That team was supposed to have half as many victories. But certainly Brunson, if he's going to be playing 40 minutes a game, then his usage lowering with RJ Barrett coming back doesn't matter as much if he's just going to play an extra 8 minutes a game as he has been doing. But the Knicks are a fun team to pay attention to. And if you can still get like minus 180 Knicks to make the playoffs, I think that is a bet. I think that should be more in the 75 to 80% range, particularly with the Pacers, with Halliburton going down. That probably pushes them into the play-in. And I would suspect the Knicks are pretty heavy favorites to, at worst, get an 8 seed and then have a double chance for the play-in. And I think they're probably going to be more like 6 or 7. Anything before we sign off, kind of big picture NBA, any futures type of stuff, any awards type of stuff that's piqued your interest over the weekend?
Obviously, we're riding Nikola Jokic every which way in the MVP market, so it was exciting to see him yesterday. That was that guy is just he's magic. I love it. Love watching him play basketball. It's just a great experience. If you haven't gotten involved with watching the Jokic experience, to do it. It's quite fun. And you bring up the Thunder 21-23. It's MLK Day, and the Phoenix Suns also 21-23. We have a dead heat in for the 11th seed right now in the Western Conference between the Suns and the Thunder. Yikes! Josh Giddey's out of the mighty Lakers. Yeah, he is. He surely is. So I did not expect to see the Suns free fall out of the playoff picture in the West, but it certainly feels like that's where we're headed.
Yeah. Booker will come back, though he's not coming back imminently. Yeah. So I suspect that they will be okay in terms of not falling out of the play-in mix. And then if they have Booker back for the play-in, which I think they're going to be a part of now at this point, then they should be okay. But certainly that's looking very precarious. And it's good to see the market has finally adjusted, and the Phoenix Suns are no longer the favorite to win the Western Conference, which has been changed before the season, but we've gotten there now. And look, the West is wide open. I still think the Grizzlies are the best bet on the board to win the West, but the Nuggets are starting to look very interesting, but they really need to make a trade. Cannot have this Ken Bones Highland show for much longer. It's a very nervous watch. The first 6 minutes of the second quarter of every Nuggets game, if you have a Nikola Jokic MVP ticket, it is absolutely brutal. Please, for the love of God, just trade for Alec Burks or something.
Anyone. Yes, get a body. Yes, please.
Just something. All right, we are done. Don't forget to check out NBCSportsEdge.com for more information to help you with your wagers. Thanks to those watching on the NBC Sports YouTube channel. And please subscribe and rate us if you're listening to us in podcast form. From Jay Croucher and Drew Dinsick, go Bucs. We'll be back tomorrow.